Hello YouTubers, it's Magic the Gathering UK here again. And today I'm finally going to start talking to you about my pre-release deck. Give you a quick deck tech of what I went with at the pre-release so you can see how I went 4-1, what I decided to build. So here we go. As you can see, it's a blue-green deck. Most of the deck is... There's the lady hands, she is here. Most of the deck was basically all about energy, basically. Energy and tokens and that sort of stuff, but mostly energy. So, if we start with the green side of things here then. These are the green creatures that I played. We have the Amorphous Revolutionary, which is uncommon. Trample, when it enters the battlefield or dies, for each kind of counter on target permanent or player, give that permanent or player another counter of that kind. So, for example, if I have an energy counter on myself, I can play this, gain another energy that way. If it dies, I can gain another energy again. Pretty useful for gaining energy. It also works with +1/+1 counters on a creature, for example, so pretty useful for that. We also have the Aether Leopard. Pretty basic creature, 3 mana, 2/3, trample. When it enters the battlefield, you get an energy. Whenever it attacks, you may pay an energy. If you do, it gets +2/+0 until end of turn. So there you go, you can see the energy in action there. By the way, how cool are these sleeves? How awesome are those sleeves? Christmas present hype.
Thanks to me.
Lady hands Christmas present. So you can already see the energy theme here. We have a Thriving Rhino. Do you want to hold these up?
Oh, yeah.
We have a Thriving Rhino, enters the battlefield, gain 2 energy, so as you can see, pretty much every card in this deck is about energy. When Thriving Rhino attacks, you may pay 2 energy. If you do, it gets a +1/+1 counter on it. There you go, more counters. And Aether Herder, again, enters the battlefield, get 2 energy. When it attacks, pay 2, and you can get a servo. So, as you can see here, lots of energy generation, lots of use for that energy. That was basically what my deck was focused on. So that's the green creatures. So if we go with the spells.
All 4?
Yeah, so the first one, if you just show one at a time. Prey Upon. Sort of greens removal, basically. Target creature you control fights another creature. That's sort of basically my removal for this deck. Or some of it anyway. We have Attune with Aether. Another way of getting more energy and allows me to search up a land from my deck. Get it out of there so I'm drawing more efficiently. This is another sort of removal. Put target artifact on the bottom of its owner's library. Found this very useful during the pre-release. Gets rid of vehicles, puts them on the bottom of their library. Annoying creatures. Can also deal with gear hulks and things like that, so definitely a good card to have. And finally, the last green spell I had was Heroic Intervention. Kind of like a pseudo Blossoming Defense, but it affects everything, but doesn't pump. So it was really super useful. I had a couple of occasions where I blew out my opponent by they attacking into me with a huge creature or something like that. I can block with a bunch of my little things. I even had a time where they pumped their creature I was trying to block. And of course I played this and all of my stuff survived. And his didn't necessarily. So pretty useful card. Did a lot of work. I was really impressed by it. Especially in Limited. Might find use in the energy deck I'm looking to build as well, but in standard, but in Limited I found it very useful indeed.
That's it.
And that was it for the green spells. As you can see, the spells don't really do much with energy. There isn't much spells that deal with energy, but the Attune with Aether is definitely orientated around that energy stuff. And then just removal, essentially. And a combat trick. Well, what I use as a combat trick. You can also use it to defend yourself against lots of the black removal and stuff like that as well. So, very handy card. Very malleable. I like it a lot. Let's go with the blue next. These are the blue spells I played. I only played 2 spells. Very creature-heavy deck. We had the Aether Trade Winds, which was always good. Return something to the owner's hand and something to your hand as well. A good way of getting rid of a dangerous attack or a blocker or something like that. Get that out of the way so you can then attack through for some more damage. Very useful card indeed. Sort of pseudo removal. And Mechanized Production. This card was interesting. You put it on an artifact, and it basically, at the beginning of your upkeep, you create a copy of that artifact. And if you have 8 or more of the same named artifact, then you win the game. Unfortunately, I didn't get to get the awesome win by having 8 of the same artifact, but it did do a lot of work for me. If we go through some of the artifacts here, you can see what I was putting that on.
These ones?
Yes. So, starting off with the Big Daddy here, this card won me several games. The Aether Harvester. This card is insane. I would say it's probably one of the best cards in Aether Revolt for Limited. It's just nuts. Again, continuing on with the energy theme, when it comes into the battlefield, you gain 2 energy, and it's flying, and you can pay 1 energy to give it lifelink. So that was really, really strong, and it's only crew 1. That is just insane. And it also plays some synergy with some of my other blue cards as well, which we'll come to in a minute. So there was Aether Harvester. We had a Glass Blower's Puzzle Knot. This works well with the mechanized production. I think that's what it's called. Yes. Because I can put it on that, and then every single turn I get to scry 2 energy and get 2 energy. So, scry 2 and get 2 energy. So it's pretty insane. Making like a ton of those every turn. Consulate Turret, this is also good. Another way, again, for me to get energy. Tap it, get energy. Very simple. And if I've got an excess of energy, I can pay 3 energy to do 2 damage to a player. So shock, basically. Extremely useful. I found that card worked really well on this deck. Watchful Automaton, it's an artifact creature, this one. It's a 2 colourless and a blue to scry 1. Again, I can use the mechanized production on it to have a constant scry, so I'm never drawing blanks. Or at least reducing the risk of drawing blanks, so to speak. So that was pretty good. Reservoir Walker, 5 mana for a 3/3, quite costly, but it does enter the battlefield and gain 3 life and 3 energy. So again, more energy production, more life gain. Again, if I copy that with the mechanized production, that's an extra 3 life and 3 energy every single turn. Bastion Mastodon, 5 mana for a 4/5, just a decent high-end creature. I didn't have a lot of high-end creatures in my colours, so I played a couple of sort of generic artifact creatures. Again, a good target to copy.
He doesn't like being called generic.
He's generic.
Okay.
But yeah, it was another good target. It saved me on at least one game where I copied this with the mechanized production. I was basically making a 4/5 blocker each turn until I could break through that barrier and start doing some damage. So that worked quite nicely. I liked it.
You liked it.
And this Prize Fighter Construct, not a card I really wanted to play, but again, as I said, I didn't have any high power or toughness creatures. Prize Fighter Construct, a 6/2, it gave me something I could use to block a powerful creature with, or even a vehicle or something like that. So, although not the best card, I wouldn't recommend it normally. It worked nicely in this deck because I didn't have any top end cards to play with. So that was the artifacts. As you can see, lots of synergy going on here with the energy. And it works well with the mechanized production with the cards I've chosen there to scry or, get more energy and life, stuff like that. Onto the blue creatures then. Continuing with the theme of energy, we have the Thriving Turtle.
We have the crab, because he came home and said he won it with the crab, and it's not even a crab.
I thought it was a crab, but I forgot it was a tail. But again, 1 mana for a 0/3, gets 2 energy when it enters the battlefield. Whenever it attacks, you can pay 2 and get a +1/+1 counter on it. So with my deck, I'm generating so much energy, I can basically attack with this thing every single turn and put a counter on it. And a 1/4 is pretty hard to deal with because although it's only got 1 power, there's not many things that can kill it by blocking it. So pretty good. Obviously, the more counters you put on it, the better it gets. And it only costs 1 mana. That is insane in this deck. Very good card. And then we have Curio Vendor. I needed more 2-drops. So a Curio Vendor is just a 2/1 vanilla creature. Nothing exciting about him, but I needed it. Filled a gap. We have a Janjeet Sentry. 3 mana for a 2/3. When it enters the battlefield, gain 2 energy. There we go, more energy. And this card is very good. Pay 2 energy and tap it, and you can tap or untap target artifact or creature. That was super useful. Allowed me to stall up attacking players when attacking creatures, when they were on the offensive. Allowed me to build my board up a bit so I could then counter it, sort of thing. When I was on the attack, I could basically have a free attack and then use this to untap it so I had a blocker again. It was just super good. Allowed me to do a ton of damage and survive from some nasty vehicles and stuff like that. Trophy Mage. This is probably one of the best cards in this deck. When Trophy Mage enters the battlefield, you may search your library for an artifact card with converted mana cost 3, reveal it, put it into your hand, then shuffle your library. So what do you think I searched up with that? Well, the best card in my deck, naturally. If I can find it.
You can't find it.
There it is. The Aether Sphere Harvester. Oh, look. It costs 3. So my Trophy Mage can find it. Now that is super good. It basically meant I had twice the amount of chance of getting the best card in my deck because I had a Trophy Mage. So that definitely won me games. Being able
Calm
to...
down.
Got a frog in my throat.
He's getting too excited.
So that definitely won me some games. Being able to search up the Harvester, you know, that is going to do some work, and it most certainly did. So Trophy Mage, super good in this deck.
Is that it?
Nope. Dispersal Technician. Again, I needed something a bit more... I needed a bit more removal, really, and this is kind of pseudo removal. When it enters the battlefield...
Everything's pseudo something.
Because it's not actual removal, but
Fake
it kind
removal.
of is, yeah. When it enters the battlefield, return target artifact to its owner's hand, so it allows me to get rid of a pesky train or something like that, or vehicles or any other stuff like that. Especially the Rhino train or the trains that get +1/+1 counters on when they attack and stuff like that. It allows me to return it and basically reset it. Then they have to replay it again. So it was good. And that was it for the blue creatures. Then it leaves us just 2 more creatures in this deck, which is the gold cards. I was quite lucky, really. I managed to pull 2 gold cards in these colours, which is kind of partly what pushed me in this direction, honestly.
I can't fit them all.
That doesn't matter.
There you go.
So if we pick up the gold ones there, we got Rashmi, which is a mythic, which is obviously good. 4 mana for a 2/3. Whenever you cast your first spell each turn, reveal the top card of your library. If it's a non-land card with converted mana cost less than that spell's, you may cast it without paying its mana cost. Now that ability isn't all that great in this deck because most of my stuff costs 3, but I do have some 2 mana cards in the deck, and it does allow me to draw extra cards at the worst. So super good card, loved it, worked well. Then we have the Rogue Refiner. Enter the battlefield, you draw a card and get 2 energy for 3 mana for a 3/2. Again, more energy and card draw. Card draw is very important in limited formats. And Magic in general allows you to get ahead of your opponent by just drawing better cards quicker and more of them. So, super good card. And there we go, that about wraps up my deck tech. As you can see, lots of energy. Almost everything in my deck was about creating energy and using energy in some way. So, pretty awesome. I enjoyed this deck a lot. It worked extremely well. As I said, I went 4-1. The one game I lost, I just wasn't drawing what I needed at the time. I didn't get my artifact removal stuff, which basically I lost to another one of these, essentially. I lost to this because I couldn't get rid of it because I didn't draw my artifact removal. But as I say, I would have liked some more of these natural obsolescence or something like that, just to get rid of some of those artifacts. But generally speaking, it worked really well. What do you think of this deck? How do you think I did with my deck building? Leave some comments below. Hit that thumbs up button if you enjoyed the video. Subscribe to the channel for more Magic the Gathering goodness. I also got this in my pool, the Inventor's Fair. I was thinking about playing it as I was playing quite a lot of artifacts, but you still need to have 3 out in play for this to come into effect. And although I was playing quite a few artifacts, as you can see, still getting 3 out I thought might be a bit difficult, especially with all the artifact removal, so I didn't end up going with it. But I could have used it to search up the Aether Sphere Harvester, basically another way of getting that, which I probably should have done, but I just couldn't think of what to cut. I didn't think there was anything in this deck that I wanted to cut, so I left it out in the end. What do you think about that decision? Was it the wise decision to make? It worked out in the end anyway, 4-1. Good stuff. So yeah, there we go. That is my deck tech video for my pre-release. Hope you enjoyed
You
it.
haven't discussed these ones?
Oh, the land. The land base, it was just 8 island, 8 forest. Pretty even. I had a pretty even spread of blue and green. Not many double mana spells. So I just played an even split of lands. That was it. Worked well.
Maybe you should just show them this.
And that was my deck box. The Grumpy Cat deck box. So good. I should have used the Grumpy Cat sleeves that I've got, really. But I went with the Doge ones because they're so cool. But yeah, there we go. Hope you enjoyed this video. Hit that thumbs up button. Leave some comments below. Let me know what you think of this deck tech and the deck in general. What would you have done differently? So yeah, thank you very much, and we'll see you again soon. Bye-bye.